Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Gustavo Tolosa and we are just about to finish our book club. We are reading Reversing Diabetes by Dr. Neil Barnard, a brilliant book. This is session 11. We have only one more to go. And I hope that you have learned as much as I have from this program, from this book. It has been an eye-opener for me, and it has clarified a lot of things that need clarification. So I just want to reinstate one thing that it's just crucial. On page 16 and 17, I think I'm just going to make a copy of this page and just walk with it, because anytime if I ever need to talk to somebody, I have here basically the heart of the book. What is it really that causes diabetes? Is it carbs? Is it sugar? No, it is not in type 2 diabetes. As Dr. Neil Barnard says it, as the legendary Dr. McDougall says it, as any doctor really that knows anything about diabetes should tell you, the root problem of diabetes is something else, is fat. It's fat. It's not the sugar. So how does Dr. Neil Barnard explain this? Well, he says that the system does not work well in type 2 diabetes. Your pancreas makes insulin. The pancreas is an organ that is in the abdomen and it makes insulin. And insulin travels to each cell. But when it arrives to that cell, it has trouble opening the door. It is as if the lock has somehow become jammed and the key no longer works. This is called insulin resistance. Yes, the insulin key is there, but it has trouble doing its job. Glucose cannot get into the cells and it builds up in the bloodstream. That is the issue, that glucose cannot get into the cells, and our cells need glucose for general functioning and for energy. Imagine the workings of a lock on a typical door. What if someone were to jam chewing gum into the lock? There is nothing wrong with your key, which in this case is the insulin, and really nothing wrong with the lock, except that it now is filled with gum. To make it work again, we need to clean it out. And that is the point of this book. And how has it become jammed? Well, of course, it's not with chewing gum, it's with fat that builds over the years. This is fat that is saturated fat that comes from meat, from dairy products. Basically, any product that is from an animal is saturated fat, is cholesterol, and it builds up. And at some point, it jams the lock so that the glucose cannot get in the cell. So we should be focusing on getting rid of that fat, and that is the whole point of this book, and not on not having carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, because we are not then treating the root problem. We're just treating a side product, let's say. Very good. So that was just a little bit of an overview. We have one more week to go and we finish the book. And as we wait for everybody to join in, I want to make an announcement that next week I will let you all know what the next book club will be, that will start the first week of July. I think that you will absolutely love it. And I have a few details to work out. That's why I'm not announcing it today. But I hope you will join me. You will benefit from this book. I don't want to say more than any others, because that's not true. All the books that we have read make a big impact in our health. But this book is going to be special for many reasons. And so I will announce it next week. Also, this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, I will do the eggplant extravaganza webinar, and I hope that you will join me. That is June 12th and June 13th. And the link to register is in the description of this video. So that's this weekend, and then the following weekend is a little a mini concert with my friend Leonardo. We're going to play some really, really wonderful, beautiful, fun music from movies with violin and piano, and I hope you will join me for that. That link is also in the description of this video. But if you register for the eggplant extravaganza, besides getting another free video of one of my cooking webinars, you will also get a registration for the concert. And of course, I'm saying that this is for Father's Day, but it can be for any day, and it could be just for you to watch it. But being a father, I want to do, I know that sometimes we fathers are maybe not spoiled enough and treated special, and so I wanted to do something special. And so if you want to use the eggplant extravaganza to make these 3 recipes for your father, and then if you want to listen to this fun concert for your father as well as a present, then that's available. Okay, so what chapter are we reading today? Chapter 10 and 11. Chapter 10 is very short, and there really isn't, there is a lot to be said, but it's simple. So basically, we people who follow a whole food, plant-based diet, we need supplementation of vitamin B12. This is very important. It is not expensive to get it added to your blood work, and I definitely recommend that you get the level checked. And Dr. Barnard says that if it is low, then basically the recommendation is 5 micrograms per day. Nearly all brands contain more than this. You will not be able to find a brand with 5 micrograms a day. So, but higher doses are not toxic. This is important to know. Many people, particularly older people, tend to run low on vitamin B12, regardless of their diets. So, I don't know what he means by older people, but, maybe it's in the 50s, maybe it's in the 60s, maybe it's in the 70s. I don't know, but have it checked, because as we get older, let's say in a more general way, as we get older, it won't matter so much that what the diet is, other than, of course, that we want to be healthy. But it's just that vitamin B12 is not absorbed as readily. So it's not absorbed as easily. So you want to definitely go and buy your B12. I have done at least 2 webinars with Dr. McDougall about supplements and about vitamin B12, which is really not a vitamin, but and also vitamin D. Okay, so vitamin D is a hormone, and there are differences between doctors in this issue of vitamin D. So vitamin D is produced when your skin is exposed to sunlight. Your skin doesn't have to be exposed to sunlight for hours because you don't want skin cancer. So 10, 15 minutes, 3 times a day, 3 times a week, it's all that is needed. Vitamin D helps you absorb calcium. The calcium, you're getting it from a lot of vegetables and a lot of legumes and other things. It is a good idea to spend 15 to 20 minutes daily outdoors. If you get this sun exposure, there is no need for dietary supplementation. If you do not, and also do not take a regular multivitamin, a 2000 IU, international units, vitamin D supplement is a good idea. I am very reluctant to take vitamin D. My levels are not low, but I would be because I follow more of Dr. McDougall's recommendation. But I will do my best to remember to put the links to the vitamin D webinar and newsletter so that you also can see what other doctors like Dr. McDougall think about vitamin D. What about cinnamon? Well, cinnamon has been shown to improve blood sugar levels. So if you're diabetic, I'm not diabetic, but I love cinnamon, so I use it as little as half spoon of just plain cinnamon added to your morning oatmeal or other foods. Not only seems to reduce blood sugar, but also appears to reduce blood cholesterol levels. Okay, so make sure that you are putting some of that cinnamon in your morning oatmeal or in any other meals that or recipes that you use in a day. Magnesium. Women who had more magnesium in a Harvard nurses' health study in their diets had a significantly lower likelihood of developing diabetes. Apparently, magnesium increases insulin sensitivity and may increase the secretion of insulin from the pancreas, which suggests that it may also be helpful after diabetes has been diagnosed. This does not mean, however, that you need a magnesium supplement. I would not take a supplement either, like Dr. Barnard says. Foods rich in magnesium include whole grains. That means grains with their natural fiber intact, such as brown rice or barley and oats, as well as green vegetables, such as spinach and Swiss chard. Many bean varieties are also rich in magnesium. What about chromium? Chromium is an element that helps insulin work better, meaning that it helps the hormone escort glucose from your bloodstream into your cells. Technically speaking, chromium is what is called an insulin cofactor, an insulin helper, let's say. In the same way that you cannot use a jack to lift your car if its handle is missing, insulin has trouble bringing glucose into cells without chromium to help it work properly. So what things, again, don't take chromium in pills or any other way as supplement. Just make sure you eat it in the food, which already comes in the exact amounts and proportions and combined with all the other minerals and vitamins that with its synergy makes it work better. So broccoli is good, green beans, whole grains, nuts, and even coffee, okay? I would probably go more with broccoli and green beans. Some experts recommend taking supplements as well. I am not an expert, but I have worked with an expert, Dr. McDougall, for years, and I agree that I would not take a supplement. So, and then on page 146, there is a chart that gives you the names of foods and how much chromium each food has. Okay, that's a very handy chart. While you're making sure to include chromium-rich foods in your menu, it may also help to steer clear of sugar and refined grain products such as white flour. These foods are not only low in chromium, they also increase chromium loss from your body. Loss of this mineral is also increased by the stress of infection, strenuous exercise, and pregnancy. If you're going to supplement, you should be aware that the safety of high chromium doses has not been extensively studied as that of other minerals. Studies using chromium for diabetes treatment often exceeded the amounts recommended by the US government is using doses of up to 1,000 micrograms per day. So be careful. All right. Finally, alpha lipoic acid, sometimes called thioctic acid, is naturally produced in the human body. It plays important roles in the mitochondria, the microscopic burners that provide energy in the cells. It works as a cofactor for several enzymes related to energy metabolism. In high doses, it acts as an antioxidant. In people with type 2 diabetes, it appears to increase insulin sensitivity and reduce symptoms of nerve damage. So far, it appears to be safe, but it is not yet clear whether it will yield clinically important effects over the long run, and if so, what doses are safe and effective for long-term use. So this is an acid that your body creates, and it doesn't really say if there are foods. I don't think so. The body creates it, and I believe, since we're in the context of eating a very healthy and health-promoting plant-based diet, that this will work in perfect harmony. Now, chapter 11. If you have any questions or comments, please type them. I will do my best to answer, and if I don't have the answer, I will get it for you. Chapter 11, about exercise. Well, maybe I should skip this chapter and throw the book out, because I've never been crazy for exercise. I go through periods of time. I guess if exercise is walking briskly, I can walk for a long time. I can go up steep hills. I could climb a mountain, which I have done here many times. But don't put me in a gym, and don't ask me to do any other kind of exercises, because it bores me, and I just don't have that, if there is such a thing as a gene for exercise. But I do think, like Dr. Barnard, I do think that exercise is very important and it's very good for you. So physical activity reduces your blood sugar and is good for your heart. It improves the quality of your sleep and your overall energy level. And it's true, when I go for my long walks twice a day, I do feel better. It really does release hormones and other chemicals into the body that really help, and it helps here as well. So if you're carrying around a lot of extra weight, exercise can be difficult. This happened to me when I was 70 pounds heavier. It was difficult. I could barely go up one flight of stairs. So I started I didn't start exercising at all. I lost 70 pounds without doing one finger lift while I lifted my fingers to play the piano. But I never exercised. I started walking and doing some kind of exercise later on after I lost the weight. So don't worry about it if now you're at a point where you cannot exercise. Focus on your food and you're losing weight, and then start to walk or to exercise. One note of reassurance, he says, if you cannot exercise because of a physical limitation, you can still lose weight, cut your blood sugar, and live a healthy life. In fact, most of the benefits of the diet changes you have read about came without exercise. That is because in our diet studies, we usually ask volunteers to just don't alter anything in their regular lives. Exercise certainly adds to the health benefits that a good diet brings, but if it is simply not in the picture, you can still do well. I want to stress how several times in this chapter, Dr. Barnard says that exercise is good, and if you can do it and try to get into the groove of it and find an activity that you like, because there's nothing worse than trying to do some exercises that you hate, that you don't like. Fine, if it's walking, so be it, just walk. If it's running, if it's going to a aerobic class, whatever it is that you like, that's what you need to do so that you can stick with it. So he says, well, what are some of the possibilities? Well, aerobic exercise. Aerobic exercise basically could be brisk walking, running, playing tennis, dancing, or skating can all be aerobic. This type of exercise reduces your blood sugar and triglycerides, and if you keep it up, you will live longer. It is true. And it says continuous activity that is rhythmic, that you perform for a sustained period, usually at least 10 minutes, that's aerobic exercise. What about resistance exercise? Is weightlifting, which I don't like. Yes, I would love to have a more muscly body and lift weights, and I have tried it many times in my life, and I have succeeded at some points, but it was always done with a lot of effort because I just did not like it. I did it because I wanted to basically just force it and see if I would learn to like it, but I didn't. So weightlifting and other exercises in which the emphasis is on muscular effort, perhaps push-ups and deep knee bends, for example, it builds your muscle mass, or at least preserves the muscle you have. I do think it's important to build muscle, or at least preserve the muscle mass that you have. So this is giving me a little bit of inspiration to do some of this. Maybe I will do some push-ups and deep knee bends, but I don't know how long they'll last. So flexibility exercises, stretching, are intended to maintain the range of motion of your joints. They can also relieve stress. So this is something that is important to do. And I am going to also try to incorporate, because right now I'm doing walking, and I do walk a lot, and I walk very fast, and but I don't do any of the other two things. So this, he says on page 150, he says, it definitely helps to exercise for all the reasons that we just mentioned, but also because it reduces your A1C levels. Remember, we talked about this in a previous chapter, but then I don't know if you remember, and we're not going to go through it now, but for a diabetic, keeping a lower A1C level is important. Another part of your body that benefits tremendously from exercise is your heart. And of course, we do want to have a strong heart. There are 3 other exercise benefits worth noting. First, exercise and eating are mutually exclusive activities. It is easy to scarf down extra calories while watching your favorite crime drama or a movie, but it is a real challenge while you're playing tennis. Exercise is calorie-free fun. Very true. Second, exercise helps you sleep. If you have given your muscles a good workout, they demand sleep. You will sleep much more soundly than if you had spent the entire day behind your desk, watching television or reading. Third, exercise makes you feel better. It lifts your spirits and is a natural antidepressant. Then, on page 151, he talks about something very interesting, and that is type 1 and type 2 muscle cells. This is not to be confused with type 1 and type 2 diabetes. They happen to have the same terminology, but they're different things. Did you know, I didn't know until I read this, that there is a type 1 and a type 2 muscle cells? Your muscles, your cell muscles can be either type 1 or type 2. Okay? So, let's just, on page 151, some people were born to exercise. And again, I really wasn't. That is to say, their muscles naturally contain many type 1 cells. The name has nothing to do with type 1 diabetes, okay? So these muscle cells have a particularly strong blood supply made possible by a rich network of capillaries that bring in oxygen and reduce fatigue. Boy, would I love to have more type 1 cells of muscle cells, because I really would love to just enjoy and love to exercise. Other people's muscles contain mostly type 2 cells, that's me, which are fine for short bursts of exercise, but have less endurance for the long haul. Now, having said that, it is important to realize that muscles can change, at least to a degree. Okay, so sorry guys, but we cannot blame type 1 of muscle cells or 2 to say, oh, I can't exercise. But no, muscle cells can change to a degree. If you gradually but steadily increase the intensity of your workouts within the limits of safety, the blood supply to type 2 cells increases. Eventually, they become almost as vigorous as type 1 cells. So you can actually teach these type 2 muscle cells to endure more and to become more like muscle 1 cells. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take work and perseverance. So Dr. Barnard says, making it work for you. There are 2 keys to make exercise work. What are these 2 important things that will make exercise work for you? First, keep it fun. I cannot underline that enough, because if it is not fun, you're not going to do it. For example, I like water. And I like to swim a little, but don't put me to swim, 4 or 5 pools, because to me, it's not fun. Neither is fun running. I have always just deeply disliked to run. I don't know why. It hurts. It doesn't feel good. It puts me in a bad mood. Don't know exactly why. But I can walk, like I said, for a long time. and I can walk up and down like those San Francisco hills, and I can walk very briskly, and that's fine. And that's, to me, is fun. Is most closest. It's the closest thing to fun, because I can look around. Don't put me in one of those belts, because I will not either. I won't do it, because it's, and I can't be watching TV or reading a book like other people can, because I'm hating standing there in this belt like a rat. I just don't like it. So I like to walk outside where I can see people and in cars or nature, or and I can be thinking about what I'm going to do with my life if I still haven't figured it out, or what am I going to do tomorrow, or I have this project, how I'm going to do it, etc. So make sure you find something fun to do. And then number 2, it is important to exercise regularly rather than intermittently. So it cannot be today and then I skip 3. No. In this area, it's like a musical instrument, like piano, like violin, or even any other art form. It matters. I tell my students, even if it's 5 minutes, don't skip a day. It needs to be a daily activity. So same thing here. Make sure that one day maybe you don't have an hour to walk for some reason. Well, don't skip it and say, well, today I don't have an hour, so I'm not going to walk. Well, walk what you can, even if it is 5 minutes, okay? So bottom line, to make exercise work, keep it fun and keep it regular. See your doctor first. Very important too. Before you embark on a new exercise program, be sure to get your doctor's okay. Is your heart up to it? Are your joints ready? How vulnerable are you to hypo or hyperglycemia? Do you have any special eye or foot problems that could be aggravated by exercise? Your doctor should address all of these questions. Also, try to not jump into exercise. You haven't exercised in 10 years and now all of a sudden you want to exercise for 2 hours in a row. Just build it gradually. Interesting here that if you have type 1 diabetes, you may find that your blood sugar drops very fast during and after exercise. This can also happen to people with type 2 diabetes who use insulin or drugs that cause insulin secretion. It is important to be alert to the possibility of a major blood sugar drop and to adjust your eating schedule, medication use, and exercise accordingly. You may find that your blood sugar is temporarily higher after exercise than it was before. Exercise can reduce your blood sugar surprisingly quickly. Of course, if you eat too much in an effort to prevent hypoglycemia, your blood sugar can go too high. For these reasons, it is important to speak with your doctor, your caregiver, about your medication, diet, and exercise program to make sure you're ready for exercise. Then make whatever adjustments are needed for safety. Getting started. This is on page 154. Okay, your doctor gave you the green light. So for aerobic exercise, he says, Dr. Barnard says, I suggest starting with a half-hour brisk walk 5 days a week, assuming that you have no health-related exercise restrictions. So 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day, okay? If you prefer, you can exercise 3 times per week, either taking brisk 1-hour walks or doing more vigorous half-hour workouts. You can also break up those 30-minute walks into 10 or 15-minute mini workouts if you like. Do not allow yourself more than 2 sedentary days in a row. The benefits of walking are not as great as those of a more vigorous exercise program, but it is a good place to start. The important thing is to find a time that works for you. It is a good idea to put exercise in your schedule as if it were an appointment with yourself and to include someone else in your plans. It is true that having an exercise pal helps, because sometimes when you don't feel like it, if you know that the other person is waiting for you, then you're more likely to do it. A podiatrist or nurse specializing in diabetes will help you take care of your feet. This is important since exercise can sometimes cause feet injuries or aggravate an existing injury. It is surprising how often people are unaware of gradually worsening foot sores. So think about all these possibilities. You can take an aerobic class, you can take a dancing exercise class, you can do tennis, you could, many health clubs organize racquetball or handball lessons and competitions. Golf can be great exercise if you walk the course. For me, I see golf and I think it's the most boring thing on the planet, but hey, if you like it and you are going to do it and you're going to walk in the course, this applies. This is great. And then local running clubs often organize training groups for people working towards 5K, 10K, etc. And that has finished part 2. It has finished chapter 11. And for our last session next week, we will do chapter 12, which will be session 12, chapter 12, a healthy heart and healthy nerves, eyes, and kidneys. And then comes after that pretty much just the section with the recipes. And remember that there is a short chapter that Dr. Barnard wrote, chapter 14, written specially for your doctor. If you want to make a copy of these barely 4 pages for your doctor to read about this. Okay, I hope you all have enjoyed this chapter. I really have. And I hope that you can join me this weekend in the eggplant extravaganza webinar. And if you have any questions, please let me know. And remember that I do, food consultation. If you need, I'm a food coach. I took Dr. McDougall's course, and I'm certified to coach for the START solution or a plant-based diet. And I could help you if you're having trouble. I have helped a few people, and it feels really good to help them continue to lose weight. I do that. I also give piano lessons online. I forget to mention that sometimes. And when Argentina opens its borders for tourism, which is not open yet, I invite you to come when I am in Argentina. I'm not in Argentina all the time. I spend time in the US as well. And sometimes I'm traveling in other places in the world. But when I'm in Argentina, I invite you to come to my beautiful bed and breakfast up in the mountains of Cordoba. It's just one of the most beautiful places, really. And you can relax and have fun here, and at the same time know that you will be compliant, because I provide the meals, and we can sometimes have a cooking class together. And it's just something that it will be fun to share with all of you. I will let you know when that is available. All right, everyone. Thank you again. And if you want to email me, I'm always an email away. Sometimes it takes me a little longer to answer because sometimes I have a lot of emails, but I do answer my own emails. And the email you can use is info@plantemas.com. And it will appear here in the screen. So I will see you next Thursday for our last session. Then we will have a week off, and then we start with our new book club, which I will announce next week. Goodbye, everyone, and eat healthy. Give it a try to do a little exercise, and then let me know next week how you did. Bye-bye.